So for those that don't know, I'm Melissa Soleimani from Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Growth Hub. The Growth Hub today is being joined to host this webinar by the Skills Hub. So we've got Suzanne Quinn, who is the project manager for the Skills Hub. She'll be talking to you about all the training and funding that's available for upskilling your workforce. And we've also got Amy Dudley from Serco. So the Skills Support for the Workforce is a programme designed to upskill your employees. So she'll be talking to you a little bit about that. And we've also got Rebecca Parker, who is one of my colleagues, an accredited business advisor, also manages the business support helpline for the Growth Hub. So she'll just be giving you a little bit of an overview on how the Growth Hub can support. So with that being said, I'll just pass you over to Suzanne now. Thank you.
Right, well, thank you very much. As I said, I'm Suzanne Quinn, so I look after the Skills Hub. It's a project or a contract, it's an ESF funded contract that is operated through the Staffordshire Chamber of Commerce. And well, to my right, but I'm not sure where on your screen, I've got Amy Dudley.
Hi, I'm Amy Dudley. I'm the Partnership Coordinator for Serco, working on the Skills Support for the Workforce programme. Obviously, as you're all here today, you are interested in finding out some more information about how you can access training, either through fully funded options through the Skills Support for the Workforce programme or through a grant funding through the Skills Hub. Now, hopefully training is something that you have thought about for your business, about how the benefits can really help your business grow for yourself as the employer and as the employee. What we're going to do is we're going to have a bit of a chat with you today. Try not to give you information overload. Try not to have you, fall asleep on us either. Try and keep you engaged and interested in what we have to offer. What we're going to do is we'll go through the different funding streams, the different options that are available. I will talk to you specifically about the Skills Support for the Workforce programme, and I'll also show you a case study about how we've supported a business within Staffordshire, just one of the many that we have supported, to access training and what the process entails.
Yeah, and then when after Amy's done that, I'll do the same for the Skills Hub. So talk about the grant, and there's a case study as well with regards some people that we've helped and how we've matched them together and how they found the process. So then that's one of the things that we'll be focusing on, is what the actual process, what is the expectation from you as the employer to how the actual funding works. So first of all, what I'm just going to talk through is this is a slight survey that was done. Obviously, this was back in 2019, which seems a lifetime ago. So I'm not going to talk through all the ins and outs of it, because a lot has changed in the business world obviously since this, but the key focus was that there was a lot of CEOs, a lot of business owners were concerned of the lack of skill set coming through or needed for their specific business. The cost of recruitment, the cost of retention, the cost of training. So what they're looking at is investing in their own staff. And that's where we can try and hopefully come in and help support on that. So rather than always having to recruit the right people, it's look at who you've got, who's committed to you, who's got the right attitude, and then how can you bring them up to the skills that you need as well. So Amy, I'm just going to talk about why training can help your business.
Okay, so business, to support your business, you need to invest in your staff. And so by supporting your staff through training courses, it makes them feel like they're a valued member of the team. And when they're a valued member of the team, it feels like they can, do more for you and help your business support to grow. So business doing well will help support your staff. If you're a business that's in the marketplace, that you suddenly found yourself that you're in demand, then you're going to need to take control of how your staff work, what their skill set is. It could be that you are starting to diversify actually in the current climate with everything that's going on with COVID, and that you might not feel that your staff are properly equipped to deal with the demands that you actually have on your business. This could be an opportunity now to use the skills that your staff already have, and then to support them even more, to make sure that your business is growing and changing to support the demand from the marketplace. If your business has had to realign and your customer bases may have changed as well, then there could be a number of training courses that could support you.
The there is the negative. Obviously, there are some businesses during this climate, and we don't want to obviously focus on negative, but there are going to be some businesses that have had to make losses or made substantial losses, or they've had to take cutbacks in their staff. I think what it's really important to remember at that time is, yes, you're going through a bad position or a bad time, and if you have lost 1 or 2 members of the team, for an SME, or if you've only got a team of 50 and you start on morale for the staff that are left, they're not sure on what the future holds. So by helping to train them and to develop, and even if you send them on a funded course, it shows that you're investing in them and that there is a future within the business. And that morale and keeping your staff that you keep happy is what's going to turn the business back to where you want it to be. You don't want to continue it on a downward spiral. You want to turn it around, and the only way that that's going to happen is by the support of your staff and the support of the team, and by showing investment and showing support. That's where you can help them. The other side of it is, if you are an SME and you only have 15 or 20 staff, when you lose 1 or 2 members, you are losing quite a lot of skill set within that may be unique to those individuals. So again, there's going to be training requirements to help plug those gaps to actually turn the business around to get it back to where you need to be. So it's a very difficult market, but I think what we're trying to say is that every stage of a business, whether you're doing well, whether you're just trying to maintain, or whether or not it's not very positive at the moment, the investment and supporting your staff is what's going to help improve and to maintain that focus.
Completely agree. It's a holistic approach, isn't it, into making sure that no matter what stage that you're at with your business, is that there are options out there for you. There is support that you can access, and actually a lot of people don't realise that there is funding available to be able to support you. So there's lots of positives for both the employee and the employer about why you should access training, and this has sort of really never been more valid really than when we're going through these difficult times at the moment. And obviously, like any investment that you put into your business, there is a cost, and that's where we're going to look at today, is that how much is that cost, is there any support, and ultimately what does fully funded and free training mean? Because everybody thinks that if it's free doesn't mean that it's worth it's the paper that it's written on, and we're trying to break down some of those barriers today and make sure that we're showing you that actually there are options available for you. So what we'd like to do is we just like to make this a little bit of an interactive piece right now, and that we'll put a poll up onto the screen for you to answer the question. And what we'd like you to answer is, we'd like to know, have you ever received funding for training previously? And for this, we're not including about any funding that you might have received for an apprenticeship. And we just like to think about the answers that we've got. So yes, you've received funding previously and you would use it again. Yes, but the process was too difficult, so you wouldn't do it again. No, you'd always planned to, but never got around to it. No, you were put off by the thought of the process. No, because you think that it's free, if it's funded, the quality of the training will be poor. Or no, you didn't know there was options available for funding. So hopefully now there should be a poll up on your screen. If you could just answer the question as honestly as possible, that would be fantastic. Thank you. I'll give you a couple of seconds to go through that. Okay, just a few more seconds. We'll just let a couple more people vote, as not everyone's voted just yet. Okay.
Right, so thank you for that. I think it's quite positive to see that we've got 38% of people who have polled today have used it and would use it again. So that is a positive. And there was also quite notably 30% didn't realise what support was out there. There was a couple of people who noted about the process or something that you always try to get around. So what we understand that there are going to be forms. We're not going to get away from the fact that there's going to be forms and there's going to be evidence. And the reason for that is the training that is received is regulated. It's quality training. There is a value to the cost of that training. It isn't that it's free funded. It isn't free training. So it could be a course, and Amy will obviously go through this in a bit with skill support for the workforce, but that cost of that training, just because you as the employer isn't paying for it, somebody is. So because we're drawing the funds down from the ESF, we have to evidence that you have received that training and it is quality. So that does unfortunately mean that we do have to have a form that's processed, and we do have to have evidence. And for our individual contracts, we'll go through what that implies. What I would say is we've tried to streamline it and make it as simple as possible. And what we try and do, and I know I speak for the Skills Hub, but I'm sure Amy is no different, is we will support you every time. So if we receive an application form and it isn't correct, we don't just reject it. We will go back to you and say, right, if you put this here, if you put that there, that will help with your application form. When we go to the evidence, we will try and get what we can from our training providers or from online, and we will try and support you as much as we can. And we are limited to what we can do, but we will try and help you every step of the way. And I think that's all we can do, but unfortunately there is going to be some paperwork. So hopefully the 30-40% of people who didn't realise that it was funding, these are going to open up lots of different options for you over what we're going to be talking about next. Okay. So in terms of apprenticeships, now we mentioned it slightly. Now this is a funding training that is available. This isn't, I don't deliver apprenticeship, neither does Amy, but it's something that we wanted to share with you because obviously it is an area that is training and it is funded, and some people are still not 100% sure how that process works. So the key thing really is that apprenticeships are available to anyone at any age. You do have what's called the standard apprenticeship, where you would recruit someone as an apprentice and they're on a separate contract of employment. So they're not a permanent member of staff, they're on an apprenticeship contract. And they tend to be your 16 to 19-year-olds. But in an actual taking part and completing an apprenticeship in terms of the qualifications, anybody can do that as a member of staff on your normal basic salary, and they can be done at any age. And these qualifications go all the way up to master's or degree level. So your entry level apprentice tends to be a level 2, level 3, but we do deliver apprentices up to level 7. These are long-term commitments, so these aren't short courses. So if you are to have a member of staff who wants to do a management course, then an apprentice could be an option for them, and the maximum as an employer you will pay is 5%. There are actually options to, if you wanted to, or you have a number of apprentices and you currently pay the 5%, there are options of how we could alleviate that cost as well. So if you wanted to know anything more about that, then contact myself at the Skills Hub. But the maximum for a contribution is 5%, and somebody could come away with a level 7, so a degree basically. But as I said, it will have taken a number of years and there's a lot of commitment, but it's just something that we wanted to highlight, that it is an option to everybody.
Okay, who is eligible? So how we work is we working within the Staffordshire LEP area, and anybody that's trading as an SME with less than 250 employees and a takeover of less than turnover of less than 50 million euros. We're covering both business to business and B2C as well. Suzanne, I think this was your slide, not mine.
Okay. So it's, yes, a business to consumer, isn't it? Because there are some contracts that are restricted in terms of the type of businesses, but neither of our contracts are restricted, are they? The other thing, we can support self-employed micro businesses. It doesn't matter how many staff that you have, you don't have to have the full 250. The only thing that we have to have, I know for the Skills Hub, I think it's the same for yourself, is you have to have been trading for around 6 months and show that you're a profitable business, or there's a potential or a future in your business. And that's it really, isn't it, in terms of eligibility. So that's it, Amy, over to you.
Sorry, now it's my time to jump in. I'm a little bit keen there, wasn't I? Okie dokie. So yes, so as Suzanne says, you know, I work for Serco on behalf of the Skill Support for the Workforce programme. Again, we are funded through the European Social Fund, which is part of the Education and Skills Funding Agency. And as Suzanne said, although the training that we deliver is often is of no cost to the business, there is the funding that is drawn down from the ESF to support that. Okay. Next slide, please. Thank you. So, like I said, we're an ESFA co-finance contract, and we're focusing on improving the skills of individuals to meet their goals and the needs of the local economy. We work very much in line with the local enterprise partnership to make sure that we are delivering training courses that will support their priority areas. So we're trying to identify where those businesses that are at risk and where there are skills gaps, and also we can support along the lines of redundancy as well, but we'll come on to that later. As Suzanne said earlier on with the apprenticeships, although we don't directly deliver them ourselves, our training providers will help you to deliver apprenticeships of all levels, and also sometimes by undertaking a short course through the Skill Support for the Workforce programme, this can give you a taster of what it might be like before you put an individual onto an apprenticeship and make that long-term commitment. So there are lots of options available for people who are thinking about broadening their skills and supporting the workforce, and how we can go about it. Again, the same for our eligibility is, we focus on the small and medium businesses with less than 250 employees. Again, these can be businesses who are, self-employed, micro businesses, and we tend to find that we do work with the businesses that are more on the smaller side, because this funding is available, and you don't have quite often within SMEs learning and development budgets, so we can help to sort of bridge that gap a little bit. As for individuals, again, they must be age 16 or over and able to live and work in the UK. There is no upper age restriction on this, so okay, anybody in your workforce can access this of any age as long as they're over 16, and again we have the criteria of there's got to be an annual turnover of less than 50 million, and your balance sheet must be less than 43 million euros, and that you've not already previously accessed over 200,000 euros worth of European funding in the last 3 years. That's another part that we sort of, to make sure that the funding that's being accessed is fair. Okie doke. So the priority sectors for the LEP for Stoke and Staffordshire is working within advanced manufacturing, business and professional services, tourism and leisure, also looking at STEM skills development around healthcare and medical technologies. We're trying to do some more work around IT, digital media, also working closely with engineering and manufacturing sectors, logistics and distribution, construction and civil engineering, creative and cultural industries, and hospitality and catering. Now, obviously the priority sectors are set by the local enterprise partnership, and we try to work within them as much as we can, but we're also keen to support anybody who's looking to grow, any business from any sector. If you fall within the eligibility criteria, we're more than happy to have a conversation with you. So how does it work? And I know obviously when we were talking, when we did the poll earlier on, we were saying about, some of the things that put people off as they think about the paperwork and the process that it takes. And how we start is obviously we have the initial inquiry from the business. So, you'd get in touch with myself, either through my contact details or through our website. And what I would do is I'd have a conversation with you to discuss with you about what your business needs are. So what we try and do is almost start at the end and work our way back. So what is it that you're looking to achieve with your business? Where is it that you see yourselves going? And what is it that you would like to do? From that initial inquiry, we'll sort of have a little chat about, are there any courses that you've been thinking about, that anything that would support your overall business plans, and then we would talk about how we could support that. Then my process would be that I would put you in touch with one of our accredited training providers that we have working within our local areas and within our contracts, and they would then carry on that discussion with you and carry out what's called a training needs analysis. I have to say that the training needs analysis is one of the key parts to this process, because that is where we get down to the nitty gritty. So this is where you can tailor make the training program to meet the needs of your business. That's one of the things that are the beauties of the Skill Support for the Workforce programme, is that these are bespoke training packages put together for you by our training providers. So if you're looking to put somebody through, say, a leadership and management qualification, and that this individual has already got experience, within a certain part of leadership and management, so you don't really want to go through that again, that can be taken out and can be replaced with something else for you that would benefit your business. Once the training needs analysis has been complete, then the training provider will start training delivery. Obviously, at the moment, we are sort of, adhering to social distancing guidelines. So as we went into lockdown, the majority of the training delivery was delivered remotely over the internet through team sessions, Zoom sessions, and online portals. Some of our training providers are starting to go back to sort of face-to-face delivery as social distancing has been relaxed, and we'll continue to monitor that and make the decision that's best for your business. Previously, they would come on site with you and they would work at your workplace and to support the training. But again, they're very flexible about how they can do that. Also, part of the training delivery is to discuss about progressions. That is part of what the training is for, is to try and progress, so to try and make things better for, one, for your business, and two, for the employee. So the progression could be anything within, they could then go on to do a further course within education. It could be that they secure themselves a pay rise or a better a higher level job within the workplace, or potentially there could be that conversation about them going on to do an apprenticeship, like we discussed earlier on, and then they would talk you through the funding streams that are available for that. And at the end of the training, we would then obviously review the training needs, and what we like to do is obviously celebrate your successes. And so, how we like to do that is through case studies. So we're going to come on to a case study in a second as well. So the benefits of training for employers and employees, as we sort of said before, is that you're going to have a highly skilled workforce delivering quality outputs. It puts you at a better advantage to win new business. It makes your staff feel motivated. It means that, that there's a recruitment appeal. If people know that you are investing in your staff and that you're looking to make your business grow, they're going to want to come to work for you. So when you do try to recruit, you might get a higher caliber of candidates who are trying to apply for those roles. It'll also help to increase efficiency. It could improve your profitability, and also it could give you that competitive advantage over your competitors as well. So we're going to move on to a case study now, just to show you how we've worked with one of our businesses based in Burton. It's the Better Project Energy, and Matt Waitman and 7 of his team took part in SSW funded leadership and management training that was delivered by one of our training providers called the Test Group. The units that they covered within the leadership and management qualifications included managing conflict within a team, contributing to business performance, and managing individuals with performance. Matt, who is the team leader, he's actually progressing onto an improvement practitioner apprenticeship with the Test Group. And so they just recorded us a short video for a couple of minutes just to tell you about what the process was. So Stephanie's going to talk you through it now with Matt.
So you very kindly confirmed that you would have a conversation with me regarding the ESF funding that we are gaining for yourselves to go through some training. So I was just wondering if you could go through and explain a little bit about, I guess, what the benefits have been for your business with regards to the training that you've had so far.
So benefits not only for myself and the other colleagues that I work with is greater knowledge and insight to help them within their role. Obviously, with being able to do different courses that would benefit them for their actual day-to-day operational processes, it's benefited them greatly because they have a more in-depth knowledge of how to conduct themselves with the information that they've been given from yourselves.
Mm-hmm. And how many of you are there that are going through training? So
we currently have 7, including
yeah. Brilliant. And how did you find the sign-up process and going through all the paperwork, etc.?
So the sign-up process was pretty easy. We first had an initial visit by a lady that came down to see the whole group. And obviously she discussed what type of training courses were available. She gathered the information of who would be likely to do the courses, what their qualifications were, etc. to begin with. And she then did the startup process of signing on to the course. We had a second visit by a gentleman, I forget his name now, but he came to do like a group session and an insight basically to what we would be looking at achieving once we've completed the qualification. So we had a group session based around what we would be learning, which was very good because it gave us, I'd say it gave us a bit more of an understanding of how to progress through the course and what to expect from yourselves.
Brilliant. And then obviously we came out and did a training session with you. So how did you find that initial training session with our trainer?
Yeah, the training session was good. Very interactive. We had 2 group sessions because we couldn't get all of the groups together at once. So we had 2 sessions, and the groups were split to what they were learning. So different courses, they were split differently, just so there would be different things that you probably talk about in one group than the other, to what they were learning. But it's very interactive, and the information was provided was very good.
Brilliant. And then the process afterwards, so obviously you had your initial session with our trainer, and then we've kind of gone through and gathered the evidence with you in one-to-one settings afterwards. Have you found that all okay?
Yes, everything's fine, especially during the current pandemic. The interaction and the communication has been really good throughout, so it's made it very easy to get on with the work and to provide the information even without being face-to-face to cover the topics.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Thank you for agreeing to do that for me.
You're welcome.
Okay, so 8 staff members undertook funded leadership and management course training. And like I say, Matt is now progressing onto an improvement practitioner apprenticeship, which just goes to show that, again, it's not age restricted. It's not like we used to think about it having to be young people just coming out of college or coming out of school who want to go into apprenticeships. Actually, these are, valued members of staff who are within the workplace being paid a good salary, and there is funding available there to help support that. Okay. So if you would like to have any more information, then obviously my contact details are within the chat, but also there's a link there to our website, our Twitter, and there's my contact details on the screen as well for you there. But that just gives you an overview of what the Skills Support for the Workforce programme is. Again, we can support businesses who are small and medium within the Staffordshire area. So if you do want any more information, please do get in touch.
Right, so thank you for that, Amy. So what I'm going to do now is obviously talk about the Skills Hub and what part we play really in terms of this, the skills or training or what else there might be for your business. So as a Skills Hub, we don't just look at our training or the grants. We would be able to signpost you over to Skills Support for the workforce. So what we do is we have skills advisors who, similar to the training needs analysis that Amy talks about, we would do our organisational one. So we would talk about your businesses, your staff, what areas of vulnerability there are, because you've only got 1 or 2 people doing one job, and there's also succession plans. So if you've got a lot of workforce who are over the age of 50, it's knowing what skills that you need to do to replace those people through to retirement. Or an ageing workforce, we can look at the bigger picture in terms of your staff structure and what areas of vulnerability there are, or where training will help strengthen your team. So we review all the training, and then what we do is we look at the best option. So you would receive an action plan from us, and we would recommend certain training courses. The first port of call will always be the fully funded courses. So if we feel that the best course of action would be something that Amy delivers through SSW, then that's where we would signpost you to. If we feel the best course of action would be an apprenticeship, then that would be the direction that we would send you to, and we would match you to a training provider. One of the things we've got is on our website. Now, this would be available to any business, no matter what size. You'd be able to type in a course that you're looking for, and the details of that course would come up. It will also indicate if it is funded or not. And we have our provider directory. So in terms of our provider directory, what that means is we've got 50 plus training providers that have gone through a due diligence to be listed with ourselves as a Skills Hub, to be a approved training provider. What that means is we've looked at their background, we've looked at the people who are delivering their course, so we feel that they are appropriate we feel that they reach the standard that we would expect from a training course. Because I know as a SME, if you're investing money into training, if you just look them up online, or I was going to say Yellow Pages, but I don't think that exists now. But if you just to randomly pick a provider, you don't necessarily know what their credentials are. You don't really know what you're looking for. So what we hope is the fact that we've gone through that and we've investigated these people, and they've had to go through a process to become an approved training provider, then that gives it a bit of credibility really in terms of their experience. Obviously, if we get feedback back which is negative and we're not happy with the training, then we would remove them from our listing. So we wouldn't recommend further courses. But there's a whole array of courses, and over the last few months, some of them have been working really, really hard, as Amy says, to continue to be able to deliver and to transfer as many courses as possible online. There has been some sectors where that isn't as feasible or as possible as others, but we're working towards it. And as Amy now says, we can now, you know, they are now looking at going back into businesses, or businesses coming to their premises under the social distancing guidance. Obviously, if a training provider is coming out to you, they would want to see what your policies are in place for visitors, and they would probably send you a list of what they would expect from yourselves. And it's just a case of working together through this time. But you know, it's not going to be any different to anything else. So these are the different providers that we deal with. So in terms of the actual skills, so what else we offer is the grant. So if we match them to a course that they have offered and it's funded, that's great. If it isn't, what you might be thinking is, what other training that we need that's specific to you? So if you're looking at something that, and we'll come on to different courses this could be in a minute, that is unique to your sector, then, and there isn't funding, so it's not going to be through SSW, it's not through apprentices, so it could be about software, it could be about CRM, that still comes at a price. So what the grant can do is offer 48% to cover the cost of training. So this is a maximum of £5,000, but to be fair, we very rarely not give out 48%, because to get a £5,000 grant, it will have meant you've spent over 10,000 on training for one project. That's quite a lot of money for an SME, but it is possible. Minimum project cost that we would look at is around £250. The grant would be about £120 that you would receive back. The only criteria that we have other than the eligibility is obviously the training can't have already started. So if some of you are sitting there thinking, oh, we've got some training booked, then please just give us a call straight after this call, this webinar, and we'll be able to advise whether it's possible to fund that. So if you've got anything booked through August, September, or in the future, or you're planning, as long as the training hasn't started, then we can help with that process. There are multiple grants available. So if you've got one project going on with a new piece of machinery, or you want to update your sales staff, or you want to update your CRM training, then you can have multiple applications for each of the different departments. So as long as the projects are different, then you could submit multiple applications. And when we say we've got these approved providers, and if we're looking at standard training, or you've come to us with training in certain areas, then we would recommend our approved providers. But we understand that particularly with the bespoke training, it won't always be through our approved providers. So for example, if you are looking at software training, if it's CAD or Xero or QuickBooks, then yes, we have approved providers that we would be able to recommend. But if it's something that's quite unique to your sector, then the training will be delivered by that person who installs that CRM. Then we can still fund that training, even though they're not an approved provider. So how does that look in reality? I've just got a couple of case studies here in writing. And so we had one case study where they wanted to do a course on sampling systems, problem solving, and the project was going to cost 10,000. So in this instance, they got the full £5,000 Skills Hub grant. Now, what's nice about this is that they had looked at this course, but they were only going to be able to pay for 10 staff to go through it, which meant it was restricted. It was going to cause problems on which 10 staff that they were going to pick, for one, and then it was also going to cause problems when they're booking out jobs on who was trained and who wasn't. So because they then found out about the grant and was eligible, they could train all 15 of their staff within that, and it just gives them a lot more options and flexibilities within their workforce, which was really, really good. But as you can see, it was a large investment from the company, but the impact would have been beneficial as well. This case study is probably at the lower end of the grants that we look at. So the project cost was only £500, but that's still a lot of money, particularly in this time where we're looking at cash flow so closely. So they will receive back a £240 grant. There was only 2 staff, but the impact and the long term of understanding QuickBooks better will actually have as many benefits to them as if they've spent 10 grand on training. The 2 staff that they had the administrator was trained up so they could input properly, but then the business owner was going to be trained up properly. So they had a better understanding of their cash flow. They understood exactly where they were at every stage, and they could do more of the accounts in-house. So then they were paying less for their accountant to do the basic inputting that they could take control of themselves. So it was really, really positive one. So it cost them £260 and it's going to save them more than that per year, which is great. In terms of courses, these are just a sample of different titles of courses that we've funded so far. One that stands out is the carriage of lithium batteries. Obviously, you're sitting at home, you're probably not thinking, that's something we need in our business. But what it shows is the diverse range of courses. Every sector or every industry has some really, really unique training, and it costs. The more bespoke it is, the more specific to your sector it is, the higher the value it is, because it's probably not so competitive, so they can name their own price. So what we try and do is support as many businesses. But then it could be something like sales development. So yes, there are sales courses through SSW, but with some of our sales courses, the training provider will come out and look at your business and tailor it to your staff in your sector. So whether it's telesales, whether it's online, and at the last few months, we must say the sales and online training for social media, marketing and online has become very, very popular. And I think the reason for that is there's been limited, obviously, networking events and going on different social events, going to different chamber events, or whoever it is, it's all now being done online. So businesses are having to have to relook how they're going to maintain business and sales and proactively promote themselves. And so as you can see, there's a whole array of different courses that we can support, but that is not limited at anything. If it's training, then chances are, if it's not funded elsewhere. And the only other thing that we can't cover if it's mandated. So if it's something that you legally have to have. So we couldn't fund a first aid course because legally you have to have it. However, if you needed to do some advance, or you wanted some members of staff to go through wellness training or mental health in the workplace and things like that, then because that's mandated, then we would be able to fund and look at options there. So this is a case study between one of our providers and a company. So that's it. So I'll leave it to them to talk through their process or their experience with the Skills Hub.
Skills Hub. We've been both through the process now. Me as a trainer, you as a trainee of that. How have you found the process? From a trainer's point of view, it's very, very easy to deal with the Skills Hub. So we got introduced, and it seemed to happen really, really quickly from them approving your training budget to actually delivering the training.
Well, I think everything has been quick. You, I suppose, rightly or wrongly assume that local authorities, councils, there's bureaucracy.
Yeah, some paperwork that needs to be done.
Yeah, I made some phone calls, had fantastic chats with everybody who seemed to get exactly what I wanted straight away. And literally hours, it was all sorted.
It's been a great opportunity to improve my business as well. And the Skills Hub have been really impactful in helping me improve as a trainer. And like the fact that they're even doing this now and saying to us, you guys, can you give us a little bit of video to say how the processes work for you, so we can hopefully encourage other people to take on training through the Skills Hub. And I think it's a great system, and everyone should have a look at the range of courses that are on there. There's many, many different courses on there.
Oh, absolutely. It's been a fantastic experience. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It has helped me. Hopefully it will help my business. You and I, we've never met. We've got a great relationship, haven't we? We're always chatting about things.
We're always streaming now.
Oh yes, we come up with all sorts of ideas. And going forward, I would like to think that there'll be other things for me to do at the Skills Hub. With other skills that I need, and for people in my business, and I can't tell people enough how much I've enjoyed it and how much I'd recommend the Skills Hub to people.
Yeah, and as a trainer, it's been a very, very painless process with them, and yeah, I'd actively encourage anybody who's training at the sort of level that they accept to inquire about becoming a trainer. There's lots of different courses on there. It isn't just all media based. There's everything from accountancy, A to Z of courses. They're all on there. And the fact that you can claim some of the cost of that course back through the Skills Hub is just an added bonus. You know, it's definitely there, and the support that you get as a trainer has just been phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, I hope people watching this video take something from it. And they can see that two people that have never met before have had to do the training via the internet,
very, very strange
in the middle of a pandemic, and it's gone really, really well, and there's great positives. I don't think you can say more than that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So the training that Julian wanted is podcasting. So for his clients, the public relations and it's something that he's always wanted to do. And I suppose because he's had a bit more downtime because of the situation, it was time that he was available and to readdress how he could promote his business and to grow his business, and thought, right, this is the time to do that training. And Carl obviously offers media training and podcast training. So that's what they were talking about, but it just talked you through the process and how they found it, and how their training had to be adapted to being online, obviously given circumstances. So in terms of the actual process, we go through the needs analysis. It takes around about an hour. Obviously, if you really understand your business and you already know the training that you need, then that's would be obviously a quicker process. So depending on what you need. The application form, I've put an hour, but it really shouldn't take that long. It's really just your basic details. And course details. We do on the form ask for 3 quotes, but to be fair, if it's something like Julian had, which was podcast training, we don't expect that there's going to be 2 other companies within Staffordshire that could offer that, or if they were outside of Staffordshire. So it's quite unique. And again, if it's a CRM system and it's being trained by the people who implement it, then you're not going to get competitive quotes. So that's fine. We understand there may only be 1 quote. Once we've received an application, we generally turn those around to get an offer letter out to you within, as long as there's no problems, within 24 to 48 hours, depending at the time of the day or time, the weekends, etc. But we tend to try and process as quickly. So you're not left hanging around for days or weeks and weeks, not knowing whether you're going to get that grant. So we should be able to confirm that within 48 hours. Once the training has actually taken place, what we need in terms of evidence. Now, because ours is a grant, and this is quite important, is it's not funding, it's a grant. So what that means is you have the invoice, you then have to pay that invoice, and then once you've paid it and you present towards the evidence, so we receive copy of the invoice, copy of the defrayal, so a bank statement to show that you have made that payment. We also need then evidence of the training has taken place, because although it might be a training provider on our list, the relationship is going to be between you and the training provider. And so we just need evidence that that training has taken place. And then confirmation of employment. So any staff that take part, like with Amy's, we need to know that they are eligible to work or they are employed for you. Unfortunately, we can't pay for training for volunteers, so they do have to be paid on the PAYE system for you as employment. So once you've sent that over, it shouldn't really take that long to have all that information to hand, and we can help you as much as we can. The only other thing that I would say is you do have to pay for all the training up front, and then we would reimburse you the grant. How long that can take is really dependent. Unfortunately, we can only draw down the funds from ESF on a quarterly basis. It depends on whereabouts in the quarter you've paid for your invoice, the longer it might actually take. But if you have had the letter of the offer, then you know that the money is going to be on its way. So the other thing we were going to talk about, Amy, I think we're just going to talk quickly about another funding stream, which may or may not be of interest to people.
Yeah, thanks, Suzanne. Just off the back of that as well, actually the skill support for the workforce programme is similar, is that we can't provide training for anything that's mandatory, and we also can't support volunteers who, like Suzanne said, they have to be PAYE employees, have some sort of contract with you for employment. So we're going to talk about now that there is some funding available from the National Careers Service, working with in conjunction with the DWP, with regards to how they can support employers who have furloughed staff, who are having to make staff redundant and are recruiting new staff to fill urgent vacancies. The support can be provided on an individual need. So the National Careers Service are actively doing a piece of work at the moment where we are trying to working alongside sort of Serco as well as the DWP to try and support as many businesses that are being faced with redundancies. So the National Careers Service will provide experienced career advisors to give support through one-to-one sessions or on a group basis around redundancy support. They'll also help you with career planning, employment and training, where they will again signpost. So if you go through that for redundancy and you identify that there's a training need, the National Careers Service will signpost you either to myself or to Suzanne and see what it is that we can do to sort of support that process as well. They'll also give you guidance and training and learning advice. They're able to actually sort of pull you together a CV. So if you've, case that you haven't written a CV in years and actually you would like some career advice and a CV producing for you, then they can do that. They're also working with employers within the local area to be able to job match as well. So if someone's at risk of redundancy and actually they've got a skill set that meets a vacancy within the local area, the NCS can signpost them across straight away. They're also trying to look about supporting future recruitment and looking at training needs and planning for the next stage as well. If you are interested in any advice from the National Careers Service West Midlands, which includes obviously Staffordshire as well, if you've been furloughed, at risk of redundancy or looking for a job, then they can support you, and their contact details are on the slide there for you.
I think what's important to share is people who, if you've got staff who are on furlough at the moment and you're unsure if they're going to have a job to go back to, it's better to start this process now than wait, because if you start the process with the National Careers Service, if they do have a job to come back to and everything's fine, then nothing's lost, it doesn't matter. It's only then if the job doesn't exist, you've already started the ball rolling in terms of supporting that member of staff to find something else for them. In terms of any of the training that I've talked about, and I think it's the same for Amy's, if your staff are furloughed, then they can still partake in any of the training and you can still apply for funding. So particularly with the way that you now work, if it's very different to when they left in March or April time, and you're bringing them back into new systems that you've sort of learnt on the job, but you want to introduce them to using Teams properly or any of the training, then you can sort out that training before they come back into work or in their first week. Also, if they need any sort of, if you want to bring your team back together, so we do a lot of training around wellness and environmental change training, to bring somebody in to bring your teams back together when they've been apart for so long, then that's something that if you wanted to invest in, that we would be able to help and support. We have a number of training providers that can do that. So as I said, so these are our contact details. If you need anything in terms of any of the training, then obviously just contact ourselves or Amy, or if you contacted Becky from the Growth Hub. So that's it. I don't think there's anything else at the moment. Have you got anything else, Amy? Or
no, I think just say thank you for everyone for listening, and if you do want any more information, then absolutely please do get in touch with us, and we'll try our very best to support you to support your business.
I think we've had a number of questions. I think Lisa, we've answered them all. So if you have a look in the question answers, if there is any other questions, then obviously put in now. We can wait a few minutes. I know Becky wants to do a speak, and then we can cover those. And that's it. Is that it? I don't think there's anything else. No?
Yeah, so that's really great. Thank you, Suzanne and Amy. That was really, really informative, and I think that's valuable information that people, especially given the current pandemic with what's going on, people need to know and need to be aware of. So thank you for that. If I could just kindly pass over now to Becky, who would just do a little bit of a talk around the Growth Hub and what support we are offering as well.
Thanks, Melissa. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Becky Parker. I'm an accredited business advisor for the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire Growth Hub, and I also manage the business support helpline. So you can see us as really a fully funded business support service, a brokerage almost of free of charge business support in the county. So the Staffordshire Skills Hub and the Skills Support for the Workforce, they're very valued partners of ours. So typically if you would engage with us over seeking support, seeking funded training, grants for growth, capex, all those kinds of things, then typically you may want to use us as a point of contact. So I manage the business support helpline, like I mentioned, but we've also got a really big sort of web presence as well. So you can email me, I'll pop some details through the chat. Typically, as we're not trading within the ordinary world at the moment, we've been heavily advising on COVID survival funds. So if you're seeking some support on things like the job retention scheme still, the self-employment scheme, COVID survival funds, local authority discretionary grants, those kinds of things, or it's still a little bit grey as to what your entitlement is, then please just engage with me. We've got a bank of advisors as well that you can book in a dedicated one-to-one with. As a growth hub, we partner with over 120 partner organisations in the county. So whilst the Staffordshire Skills Hub and Skills Support for the Workforce are only two of those partners, we partner with lots of partners. So we engage with the local authorities, we're affiliated with the local universities and so on. So again, it's maybe just to make you aware that there's an opportunity there for you to engage with us as business advisors so that we can support you overall and signpost you to the relevant support. We've got areas of specialism as well. So whilst I'm a generic, if you like, business advisor, we have a high growth and recovery specialist advisor, an access to funding and finance specialist, a HR specialist advisor, and also marketing. And again, that's fully funded support. So, please just engage with myself or Melissa, or keep hold of our details for when it's relevant. What I typically say to a business is before you part with any money or you go through any growth and expansion plans, you employ staff, anything like that, then engage with us as a growth hub first, not only to understand if there's any funding for that, but to understand if there's any partner support. It may be that by employing new staff members, we can unlock what skills and training are available for those individuals, but also potentially what capital equipment grants there might be to bring on new starters, and what HR support we can marry in with the specialists and so on. So just bear us in mind. I put together a weekly newsletter. So we collate all of the partner information around the county for all of our partner organisations, and we send that out via one communication, a sort of central hub of information. So you can engage with me as well, and I'll add you to the recipient list of a weekly newsletter if you think you'd find that helpful. And that's really it from me. So I'll leave some contact details in the chat function, and if anybody wants to either arrange a one-to-one with a business advisor or one of the specialists, or if you've just got a question about the business, then please feel free to make contact.
Great, thank you, Becky. So just to round off for today then, everybody, I'd just really like to thank you all for joining and being a part of the webinar. Hopefully you've gained a lot from the information that the speakers have given us today. And I'd also like to thank everybody that put some questions in the Q&A, because I know that answers will be relevant to almost all the participants here. So that was really great. So thank you to everybody that engaged and taking part in the poll. It's always nice to have a little bit of interaction, isn't it? And like Becky said, all the details are in the chat function. They have been put into all panelists and attendees. Thank you for pointing that out. So they are all in there. But thank you very much. And again, this webinar is recorded. So if you need to look at it at a later date or want to come back to it, then it will be on Staffordshire Chambers and the Growth Hub website in the webinar libraries. So thank you all very much.